Sometimes angels don't have wings. Sometimes they have stethoscopes, gentle hands, and hearts big enough to hold the fears of children who shouldn't have to be brave. That's what 28-year-old Rebecca Chen proved when she stood at the Family Feud podium in her crisp blue scrubs, fresh from a 12-hour night shift at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and gave an answer that stopped Steve Harvey's heart and reminded an entire television studio that some people choose to spend their lives being the light in other people's darkest moments. Rebecca had barely slept in 36 hours. Her shift had ended at 7 a.m., and by 9 a.m., she was on a train to New York with her sister Amy and her parents, David and Lynn Chen, for their Family Feud taping. Most people would have been exhausted, but Rebecca carried herself with the quiet energy of someone who had learned to function on adrenaline, caffeine, and the kind of purpose that comes from knowing that what you do every day literally saves lives. She still wore her hospital ID badge clipped to her Family Feud contestant shirt, Rebecca Chen, RN, pediatric oncology. For 6 years, Rebecca had worked the night shift in the children's cancer ward. When the hospital grows quiet, except for soft beeping monitors and occasional cries of children waking from nightmares about treatments they're too young to understand. The night shift was the hardest in pediatric oncology. During the day, the ward buzzed with doctors, specialists, and family members, creating activity and hope. But at night, when visiting hours ended and parents went home for precious sleep, children were left with their fears, their pain, and the weight of fighting diseases that even adults struggle to comprehend. That's when Rebecca became more than a nurse. She became a storyteller, handholder, midnight comforter, who could explain why chemo made them sick while making them believe they would get better. She was the voice singing lullabies to 4-year-olds who cried for their mothers, the presence staying with 8-year-olds during panic attacks, the gentle soul helping teenagers process that their lives looked nothing like their friends' lives. Rebecca didn't have children of her own. At 28, she had made choices that prioritized her calling over conventional paths. While nursing school classmates had gotten married and started families, Rebecca had pursued specialized certification in pediatric oncology, learning to insert IV lines in tiny veins, mastering the art of explaining complex procedures in language children could understand without becoming more frightened. Her apartment was filled with artwork, from patients, crayon drawings of nurses with superhero capes, thank you cards from families whose children had beaten cancer, photos of kids she had cared for, who were now healthy teenagers. Her refrigerator looked like a gallery of hope, each picture representing a young life she had helped shepherd through their scariest time. The Family Feud opportunity had come through her sister Amy, who worked in television production and had watched Rebecca's dedication for years. Amy had applied not because their family needed money or fame, but because she believed the world needed to see what real heroism looked like, the everyday version that happens in hospital rooms at 3 a.m. when no cameras are rolling. Rebecca's parents, David and Lynn, had emigrated from Taiwan in the 1980s, with dreams of providing their daughters opportunities they never had. They had raised their daughters to believe that success meant using your talents to help others, that true fulfillment came from what you contributed to making the world better. When Amy had told them they'd been selected for Family Feud, Rebecca's first concern wasn't about winning or appearing on television. Her first thought was about her kids, the 23 children currently on her unit who counted on her being there when they woke up scared at night. She had arranged for other nurses to cover her usual Thursday shift, but carried her phone in case any patients specifically asked for her. The train ride to New York had been filled with family practice sessions, but Rebecca's answers revealed her unique perspective. When Amy asked what makes people brave, Rebecca answered, having someone believe in them. When David posed questions about what helps people sleep, Rebecca responded, knowing someone is watching over them. Steve Harvey's pre-show meeting with the Chen family was immediately different from typical contestant interactions. When he met Rebecca, still in her scrubs with exhaustion evident but determination radiating from her presence, Steve found himself talking with someone who dealt with life and death decisions every day. "Rebecca," Steve said, "your family tells me you work with children at the hospital. That must be incredible work, but I imagine it's also really difficult." Rebecca's face lit up with warmth that had comforted thousands of frightened children. "It's the most challenging and most rewarding job in the world," These kids are fighting battles that would break most adults, and they do it with more courage and humor than you can imagine. They teach me about strength every single day. What's the hardest part of your job? Steve asked. Rebecca was quiet for a moment. The hardest part is that I can't take their pain away. I can manage it, comfort them through it, but I can't make it disappear. But what I've learned is that sometimes being present with someone in their pain is more powerful than being able to eliminate it. She continued with the wisdom of someone who had witnessed both tragedy and miracles. All these children don't need me to have all the answers. They need me to sit with them in the questions, to hold their hand when they're scared, to believe in their healing when they can't believe in it themselves. The opposing family, the Rodriguez clan from Arizona, were initially energetic about competition, but when they learned about Rebecca's work and witnessed the Chen family's dedication to service, their competitive spirit transformed into respect and support. When Steve Harvey took the stage, the studio buzzed with anticipation, but there was an undercurrent of reverence, recognition that this episode would be special because of the quiet heroism of the young woman at the contestants' podium, someone whose daily work involved being present for families during their most frightening experiences. The family introductions revealed the Chen family's commitment to education, service, and using talents to help others. Steve learned about David and Lynn's journey from Taiwan, about Amy's work in television production, about Rebecca's choice to dedicate her career to pediatric oncology when most young nurses chose less emotionally demanding specialties. Rebecca, Steve said during the introductions, 6 years working with children who have cancer. What keeps you going during the really tough days? Rebecca looked out at the studio audience, then at the cameras that would broadcast her words to millions of viewers, and her response carried the conviction of someone who had found her calling in the most unlikely place. The children keep me going, she said. They face every day with more courage than I could ever imagine having. They make jokes while getting chemo. They worry about missing school more than they worry about losing their hair. They ask if I'm okay when they're the ones in the hospital beds. If they can be that brave, the least I can do is show up and be brave with them. The game began with Rebecca participating in the face-off. The question was simple: name something that makes children feel safe. Rebecca buzzed in confidently and answered, knowing someone cares about them. It was the #1 answer on the board, and the Chen family chose to play. As the round continued, each family member's answers reflected their deep understanding of care, comfort, and what creates security for vulnerable people. Amy answered familiar voices, which earned the #3 spot. David said gentle touch, claiming the #4 position. Lynn's answer of consistent presence wasn't on the board, but it drew sustained applause from the audience. When it was time for the second round, Rebecca was again at the podium. The category was Name Something Nurses Do for Their Patients, and Steve approached her with obvious respect for the woman who lived this reality every single day. Rebecca, you are a nurse, so this should be right in your wheelhouse. Name something nurses do for their patients. Rebecca smiled with the confidence of someone who could answer this question in her sleep. Advocate for them, she said, thinking of the countless times she had pushed for better pain management, more appropriate treatment schedules, or simply ensured that a child's preferences were heard and respected by medical teams. It was the #2 answer on the board, and the Chen family was building a strong lead. But it was during the fourth round that the moment everyone would remember forever finally arrived. The category was Name Something Nurses Give Their Patients, and after family members had provided conventional answers like medication, comfort, and care, it was Rebecca's turn. Rebecca's TMA into Delta Benta Deltani. Steve walked over to Rebecca's position at the podium, microphone in hand, and addressed the woman who spent every working day giving everything she had to children facing the unimaginable. Rebecca, we need something nurses give their patients. What do you think? Rebecca thought about her current patients, 7-year-old Marcus, who was terrified of the dark, 12-year-old Sophia, who worried that her parents couldn't afford her treatment, 15-year-old James, who had missed so much school, he was afraid he'd never catch up. She thought about all the children she had cared for over 6 years, all the families she had supported through their darkest hours, all the nights she had spent being present for young people who needed someone to believe in their tomorrow when today felt impossible. When Rebecca spoke, Her voice was clear and strong, carrying across the studio with the authority that comes from absolute truth born of daily experience. "Hope-filled nights," she said simply. The words hung in the air with a weight that transcended typical game show responses. This wasn't just an answer about what nurses provide. This was a window into the heart of someone who understood that healing involves more than medical treatment, that recovery requires emotional and spiritual care alongside physical intervention. Steve Harvey, who had made his career knowing how to respond to any situation, found himself completely speechless. The studio fell silent as everyone present recognized they had just heard something that went far beyond entertainment into the realm of profound human truth. "Hope-filled nights," Steve repeated quietly, and then louder, "Hope-filled nights." He set his microphone down on the podium and walked directly to where Rebecca stood. The cameras kept rolling, but everyone in the studio understood that they were witnessing something that transcended television. "Rebecca," Steve said, his voice thick with emotion, "in all my years of hosting this show, I have never heard an answer that was more beautiful or more important than what you just said." He positioned himself directly in front of Rebecca, speaking with the respect that one caregiver has for another. "You know what you just did? You just reminded everyone in this studio, everyone watching at home, what real healing looks like. It's not just about the medicine or the procedures or the medical technology. It's about someone sitting with scared children in the dark and helping them believe that morning will come, that they will see tomorrow, that they are not alone in their fight." Steve turned to address the entire studio, his voice carrying the weight of absolute conviction. "Ladies and gentlemen, this young woman standing right here spends her nights, in a children's cancer ward, being present for kids who are fighting for their lives. While most of us are sleeping in our comfortable beds, Rebecca is holding the hand of a 6-year-old who can't sleep because they're afraid of dying, or sitting with a teenager who's crying because they look different after chemotherapy." The studio audience rose to their feet in spontaneous applause, but Steve raised his hand for quiet. "But that's not even the most incredible part. The most incredible part is what she just said. She doesn't just give these children medical care, she gives them hope-filled nights. She transforms the scariest, loneliest hours into something beautiful, something healing, something that says you matter, your life has value, and someone believes in your survival." Steve walked back to Rebecca, who was standing quietly with tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the recognition of work she had always considered simply what needed to be done. "Rebecca, I want you to have something." Steve began removing his suit jacket, the same burgundy jacket that had become part of his television persona. As he draped it around Rebecca's shoulders, his voice carried the respect that one healer has for another. "This jacket has been with me through every episode I've hosted, through every family story I've heard, but today, it's going home with someone who reminds all of us what it means to be an angel, and I don't use that word lightly. Angels are messengers of hope, beings who show up in our darkest moments to remind us that we're not alone. That's exactly what you do, every single night." Rebecca looked down at the jacket, then at her family, then at Steve with overwhelming gratitude. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady despite her emotion. "But I have to tell you something. I'm not the angel in this story. The children are. They teach me every day what real courage looks like, what hope sounds like, what love means when everything else is uncertain. I just try to be worthy of the trust they place in me." Steve wasn't finished. He asked the production team to bring something special, a poster-sized card that had been prepared based on information the Chen family had shared during their pre-show interview. "Rebecca, your sister Amy told us that your hospital room is decorated with artwork from your patients. She brought some pictures to show us what your kids think of their favorite nurse." Steve revealed a collage of children's drawings, stick figures of nurses with angel wings, crayon pictures of Rebecca reading stories, thank you cards covered in glitter and stickers. In the center was a photo of Rebecca surrounded by a group of young patients, all wearing hospital gowns, but all smiling radiantly. "These children drew you with wings," Steve said, his voice filled with wonder. "They see what the rest of us are just now understanding. You're not just a nurse, Rebecca. You're proof that angels are real, that they walk among us, that sometimes they wear scrubs and work night shifts and choose to spend their lives making sure that no scared child ever has to face the dark alone. The studio erupted in the longest, most sustained applause in Family Feud history. But it wasn't just applause, it was recognition, gratitude, and honor for someone who had dedicated her life to being present for others during their most vulnerable moments. The episode aired 4 weeks later and became the most watched Family Feud episode in recent history, sparking national conversations about healthcare workers, emotional care in medical treatment, and extraordinary people who choose careers requiring them to be strong for others every day. The response was overwhelming. Nurses across the country shared their own stories, and parents of children treated for serious illnesses expressed gratitude for caregivers who made their families' darkest times bearable. Medical schools reported increases in pediatric nursing program applications. But perhaps most significantly, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia was flooded with donations, volunteer applications, and letters of support for their pediatric oncology program. Rebecca's appearance had reminded the world that behind every medical miracle, there are people who choose to dedicate their lives to making miracles possible. Steve Harvey, who had built his career on making families laugh, learned something profound about the difference between entertainment and inspiration. In interviews afterward, he said, "Rebecca taught me that some people don't just have jobs, they have callings. She reminded me that the most important work is often the hardest work, done by people who never ask for recognition but change lives every day." Rebecca used her portion of the family's winnings to establish a fund for providing comfort items for pediatric patients, books, games, art supplies, and other things that help children cope with long hospital stays. But the real prize was something money couldn't buy: recognition that her calling was important, that her choice to spend her nights caring for scared children was seen and valued by people around the world. Rebecca Chen continues to work the night shift at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Her ID badge still reads Rebecca Chen, RN, Pediatric Oncology, and she still arrives every evening ready to be whatever her young patients need: nurse, advocate, handholder, storyteller, or angel. Because sometimes, the most important work happens when the world is sleeping, in quiet hospital rooms where brave children learn that they're never alone in their fight, that someone believes in their healing, and that hope can transform even the darkest night into something beautiful.